Hello, and welcome to the Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. It is the Valley Business Today with the SBA. So Carl Knobloch, Virginia District Director of the Small Business Administration, traveled into town for a conversation with Sarah Cohen, owner of Red 11 Chips. If you listen to the Cliff Notes version on the radio, thank you for coming to listen to the whole conversation. It's a fun one. So we're sitting at Red 11 Potato Chips in Mount Jackson. Is that technically, Sarah, where you're located?
Yeah, we're in the Mount Jackson Industrial Park.
And you've been here how long?
Believe it or not, we moved in here in 2008, so we're going on year 18, which is just shocking to me. Yeah.
That is so crazy. So we were talking a little bit when Carl and I came in about the history of Red 11 Chips. So for someone who has only ever known you to be here, tell me a little bit about how you got started and where you got started.
We actually started in an old feed store in Middletown, Virginia, which is 30 miles north of here. I was 20-something. I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew that I wanted to do something special. I knew nothing about manufacturing. And there's a whole prequel to Route 11, which that might be a separate episode because, but when we set up shop in Middletown, all of our equipment was from the 1960s and we were small as you could be in the chip business and not be doing it in our kitchen at home. So we were like one step out of the kitchen in a wooden building, and the state of Virginia let us cook. We had wooden floors. I know it sounds like 1800s, but nobody knew what we were doing. They were like, who are these people setting up a potato chip factory? What are they doing? But we had our little setup. We actually had to carry our potatoes through the office to get to the peeler. And I thought, we must be the absolute most inefficient chip factory in the world. But that was how we started. I really didn't know what I was doing. I did know I had a work ethic because I grew up in my family business in DC, which was a restaurant and hotel. And I started working there at the age of 12. So I knew how to get things done, but I had no idea what I was really going into. And if somebody had looked in their crystal ball and said, Sarah, this is what you're going to be doing with the rest of your life, I would have been like, you are insane. There's no way. I grew up in DC. I was a city girl.
And now here you are, as rural gets, making potato chips of all things.
Yeah, it's just a very interesting story. But yeah, so we started in Middletown, just me and one other person. We had a garden rake where we were stirring the batches of chips, and we just got really lucky. It was almost like we found a magical spot. Even though we didn't know what we were doing, I think the locals in the community were curious. People watched, they came and tried the chips, and they advocated for us. And that hasn't stopped since day one.
No, so people are very loyal.
Yeah, they're very passionate about our product and our company, and so we feel really lucky. And that's what has really given us the fuel to make it this far. Really 100% believe that it's getting the support from the community here.
One of the things that I thought was really unique when you were in Middletown was you did have those windows. When you talk about how people would come and they would watch and then they would try your chips, that was somewhat unusual. There weren't many manufacturing companies back then that you could walk in and see how the sausage was being made, in your case, how the chips were being made. And that was something new. Now we see it all the time. Craft breweries let you see how their beer is being made, that sort of stuff. That was something new, and you've continued that here.
Right. The first year or two that we were in business, we didn't have a packaging machine. So we were hand packing the chips, and we were really at the mercy of people coming to buy chips from us. And we were also selling bulk boxes of chips to restaurants and stuff initially. So we felt like, let's put a window in so that it gives people something to do versus just coming to a weird little wooden building and getting chips. So we started with the window in Middletown. Before we knew it, we had tour buses. We had a lot of people coming just out of curiosity. And you don't get to see how food is made very often. When we moved down here, the town of Mount Jackson, one of the stipulations was that we kept the fry viewing, what we call fry viewing. That was always my intent anyway, because we like having the public come in.
The interaction.
And people can come to the source, see the product being made, and that whole thing has served us well. But I also understand, the larger you get, why food processing companies don't want you to see them making the sausage, because There's a truth in it. And so I am very, and so is my business partner, Mike, who is very much a part of this, but we're very shameless about just showing it as it is. This is the real deal. This is how something is made. So it's a fun part of the business.
I think another perk too is that your chips don't have 400 ingredients in them. They're very clean ingredients. It's a short list of things that are in them because I want my potato chips to taste like potatoes ultimately and not all these other things.
We're trying to make a minimally processed potato chip, and also our survival and sustainability as a company is very much tied into our product. The more ingredients a product has, the more exposure you have to a recall. If one ingredient gets recalled, then you've got to pull all that product, and nobody wants to do a recall. So the less exposure you have to that, the better.
How much of all of that have you learned? We were talking when Carl and I first got here about how daunting it is for a lot of small businesses to say, I'm going to start this manufacturing company.
Right.
You've really been able to start it from ground zero and then grow and get to where you are now.
And I think when we were in Middletown, I had no idea what I was doing. And so we'd piecemealed this thing together. All of our equipment was from the 1960s, breaking down. And I was like, oh, factories are so hard. And I would go to food shows and not be able to sell the product with gusto because I wasn't entirely sure that we could produce it without breaking down. Then I met my business partner, Mike, in a bar in Winchester. I know. And I swear it was like a magic, and that's what happens in the Valley. I think you have these magical intersections. And so Mike is somebody who was fixing lawnmowers in his diapers.
Get out.
Yeah, and so he loved the product, but he came and looked at what I had done. And he was like, sir, you've got a great product, but this could be better. He's very OCD, he was in the Army, and he made this all possible. And he's got a vision, manufacturing vision. We are very different types of people. He's very engineer brain, sees the world in very black and white terms, whereas I'm much more kind of muddled and
you've got all the colors like at the table that we're sitting at.
Right. Not to say that Mike's not creative at all. He's very creative.
It's a different kind of creative.
Right, but it worked. We could work together, and he brought an intensity that you need to this equation. I'm not intense enough to run a factory like this by myself. So that was one of the ingredients of success, and he was also obsessed with preventive maintenance, which we've been if you look at our equipment, here we're 18 years old. People come in and they're like, your equipment looks brand new. That's because we take care of it. We baby it and pamper it. And that's also just been key to our kind of quote unquote success here.
A lot of manufacturers have lost sight of the preventive maintenance side of it. And that's what saves you money.
Right.
It literally saves you money. And I see so many companies just say, run it until it breaks. And it's like, no, you do not get this.
Yeah.
Because you don't understand your downtime potential, especially in today's world with trying to get parts.
Right.
Because everything's got such long lead times. You literally have to be thinking ahead of your PM and the most common parts that potentially could break that you actually have a stockpile because you don't know if they're going to have it available when you call for it.
Exactly. And so we have lots of moving parts on our equipment. And I think I learned, to go back to your question, you make your mistakes along the way and you learn, hopefully, try not to make the same ones over and over. And you also have to be prepared for all the curveballs that you get. So it's definitely not for the faint of heart, but we really try to control the things that we can control here because the world there's so much uncertainty and you don't know from day to day what's going to happen. So we've just kept our noses to the grindstone, and also from the way he looks at things has been very helpful to me because you can't get stuck in a fantasy.
It has to be rooted in reality.
Exactly. So our mission statement is not very exciting. It's make a great product in a clean and safe environment.
Key point, clean. Because you get one recall because of a breakout, you're pretty much done.
Yeah.
Because this is your facility.
Yes.
You have no place else to go. And so it's like, I lose big time. So I have to be extra cautious.
Oh yeah, because your larger manufacturers can just shift to a different location and start making it somewhere else. You don't have that luxury.
But this is it. This is kind of it. An emergency plan we'd try to find one of our competitors who we're friends with to make our product. Something here were to happen. But
yeah,
obviously,
we used to have that.
Yeah.
If disaster hit, here's the interim, here's our
Yeah.
formulas
Yep.
to make the product.
We sell to Costco now, which I never would have dreamt about. They actually had to come here and twist our arms. I was nervous about it.
I joked with you earlier, remembering the first time I saw them at 7-Eleven and then at Martin's. And I also remember the first time I saw them at Costco. And I'm standing there, and my husband is a couple aisles over, and he's all of a sudden he comes around the corner, and I'm just standing there staring at this giant display of Rab 11 potato chip bags. And he's looking at me, and they have them at Costco.
Yeah, and Costco's been really good to work with, but their standards are higher than anybody's. So we go through a Costco audit every year, and just going through that process, again, learning along the way what you have to do to be consistent, to make sure you're doing everything and you're being compliant and you're being accountable and respond everything. So as we've grown, having customers like that are requiring that of us, not that we wouldn't already be there, but it helps you just move along.
Well, and they may have something in their process that never would have occurred to you or to Mike that you then see and go, oh, we should incorporate this into how we do things because it will help A, B, C, or D. So it's great to be able to expand that and get that information before you have to learn it as a lesson.
Exactly. So we're integrating along the way, and then it just makes us better and that pushes us farther down the...
So how did Costco's find you?
So they were going to a deli, and I guess the buying team went to a deli in Leesburg, and they picked up a bag of our dill pickle chips. And that's how they discovered us. And they kept calling us like, come on, would you do this? And we had just moved down here. And I didn't feel ready for Costco. Then the buying team came out here and literally twisted our arms, and they said, just do what you're comfortable with. You tell us what you can do.
If you just want to do one flavor or one size.
Right, just do what you can do. And they wanted the dill pickle, but it was really, the dill hadn't hit. So we did, let's just put it this way, we did a big run of dill for them, and it did not go as well as they thought.
It's an acquired taste. They're not one of my favorite flavors, though I will point out that when I left the house, when my husband left the house for work this morning, he goes, today's Route 11 day, right? And I said, yes. He goes, you're going to get me a bag of dill pickle chips. I'm like, yes, I will.
Yeah.
He does love them. I am a lightly salted girl all the way.
Yeah, my daughter loves the dill.
She is the pickle queen.
Yeah, she is the pickle queen, and she is a critiquer of pickles. And I always laugh about that. But then my deputy, she loves them, and her kids love them.
Yeah.
So it's like this dynamic, but you're absolutely right. You have to acquire it. I think they have a great taste for a dill.
But a big jumbo like Costco-sized bag is a lot.
That's
of
a
dill
lot.
Pickle. Yeah. But they want to try it again, so we'll see. But they've supported us. We've done our sweet potato chips in there. They have a variety box, and now they're doing, in a couple of the warehouses, they're doing just our lightly salted, which is by far our best seller. And so that's good. And I think as long as the chips keep selling, they'll keep buying. They want to support local companies. They have been really good to work with. And
Are
so
you regionally based or with what you supply?
So we're located in the northeast region of Costco. And we've done this before where you're in all of the 90 warehouses. But you've got to produce at a clip.
That's a lot.
Yeah, because they want you to send out truckloads. We would have to send out 2 or 3 truckloads a week, and that would be all of our production. And we did that once when we weren't super busy, and it was like, whoa. It felt like a lot.
We need a separate Costco production facility to be able to maintain this.
You could just feel it. It was just like, this is a lot. So we're just in a portion of the Virginia stores.
And I think that's something that other people may not be aware of, is I think that they think if I want to get into Costco, I have to do all of the Costcos. And they don't often understand that there can be regions that you're only servicing a certain region, and that overwhelming that we were talking about earlier keeps them from even asking.
Right,
because technically you could, but you'd have to have a whole nother shift.
Exactly.
Just totally dedicated to Costco.
And it's still not a guarantee that you'll keep the business. Like they're wonderful to work with, but you could scale up, and the next thing you know what, some other chip came along, we're gonna try this. Sorry. So we've found a sweet spot where what's really important to us is that we get our chips into as many Virginia places as possible. So if we're just in the Costco's in Virginia, that's still like 20 some some
That's
Costco's.
still
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, so we're in good shape, and that keeps us busy. We're small, this is the size that we like. We've actually got 53 employees here.
Wow.
Yeah, and
How many flavors do you have?
So we've got 8 flavors. And then we've got some
Seasonal.
Yeah, we've got our Yukon Golds.
Oh yes, let me just tell you,
yeah.
Carrie Hahn and I have talked at length when Yukon Gold season is in. I think she, for the show in November, she talked about how she had already gotten her case, but they would likely be gone by Christmas, and she thought she should have bought 2 cases this particular year.
And the Yukons, we call it the Gold Rush because it's just a crazy amount. Yeah, we dig them, cook them, and then ship them out, and they're gone pretty quickly.
Yeah, I got to taste them first time this year.
Okay.
And then everybody I shared them with just sat there. Oh my gosh, where are these? I said, they're gone.
Yeah.
But just what you ate, it's gone.
Yeah.
Next year. That's the way it works. And
Yeah.
so it is, but they do have an amazing flavor.
Thank you. Yeah,
How do you come up with the different flavors? Because there's a large variety.
Yeah,
You only
well,
have 8, but they're unique.
Right. There's some core potato chip flavors that when you make potato chips you have to have, like barbecue,
Right.
salt and vinegar, sour cream and chive. The dill pickle, I came up with that. We were the first company to ever have a dill pickle chip
What?
because I was one of those people that liked the dill pickle juice meshing with my potato chips and my grilled cheese sandwich.
On yours, yes.
I like that. I know a lot of people do not like that, but for me, I was like, we should do a dill pickle. We should try it. So we were the first ones to ever do it. And it's the closest thing that we've actually formulated. I think it's like our version, it's our Dorito. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Not that I can go to dill pickle and eat them every day, but I think that flavor has gotten so much press and buzz and has gotten us on morning shows. It was in Oprah's magazine years ago. Just, it always gets a lot of attention because everybody loves pickles, right?
We laugh about it because now everybody's starting to start.
Oh, pickles are having a
pickle
moment,
festival.
and there are pickle festivals everywhere now.
Yeah.
And immediately when I go to them, I'm looking for your potatoes. I'm looking for anything.
Yeah.
It's a, what? You don't have them? What's the issue here?
There was a pickle festival in Winchester last year, and Carl came back for it, brought his family and the whole 9 yards because he has the daughter that is the pickle queen. And I got a text from him about how disappointed he was that there, A, weren't a lot of pickles at this pickle festival,
Yeah.
and B, there were no Red 11 dill pickle
I
chips
didn't even
there.
know about that festival.
So we call it a learning experience.
Yeah.
And I know that the local started a potato festival or tater festival.
So Mount
Yes.
Jackson has
Yeah.
Tater Fest,
Yeah,
which
so-
is fun. Have you
Yeah.
been to that?
No, I didn't get to because there was a conflict. I had to do another activity.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's on my radar to go to. Yeah.
Olivia and I have been friends for years.
Okay.
And so I always tell this story when anybody talks about Tater Fest because I feel like I have to give an apology to people because when she was making the decision to leave Strasburg and come here to Mount Jackson, we had coffee and we were walking through the pros and the cons, and I did not think it was a good idea. I said, I think this is a lateral move. You've got all of these things that you're doing in Strasburg, and are you going to be able to do the same thing in Mount Jackson as town manager, and on and on and on. And I said, you've got Vintage in the Valley, and you have all these great events that you built. What are you going to do when you get to Mount Jackson? Have a potato festival? Because the only thing there is Red 11 potato chips. And so it's kind of
Janet, are
my
you saying it
fault.
was your idea?
It's kind of
It's
my
your
fault
fault. Oh
that there
my
is a
God.
Tater Fest, and people love it.
Oh, it's been awesome.
It has people come from all over,
Yeah.
and she don't ever discount Olivia's brain when it comes to coming up with. She has Mr. and Mrs. Tater Tot pageants.
Yeah,
and
no, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is
Everything-
crazy.
Yeah, it's fun. No, it's actually a lot of fun. Yeah.
I know that she really, really, really wants to have a Tater Fest bag. She wants her own
we'll
branded
get there.
bag.
Yeah, we'll get there. We will get there.
And that's probably the other thing too. So you started with the lightly salted.
Right.
But when you decide you're going to bring a new flavor online or even seasonal, it's not just the recipe. You've got to figure out packaging and then all of the other
Right.
things that come with that. And you can't run a batch of dill pickle at the same time in the same machine that you're running a lightly salted.
Right,
There are all of
exactly.
these other things you have to take into account.
Yeah, so we are a gluten-free certified facility. We have one allergen, which is dairy. So the dill has a tiny bit of dairy, just a tiny bit, but it's enough that we have to be very conscientious about how you're running. We have a policy about how we run stuff or method of doing it so that our dairy allergen stuff runs at the end of the day and we can clean it up. But yeah, every flavor has a story behind it, but what was interesting was that when I started the business, I was like, oh, the more flavors, the more sale. My vision, I was very delusional that every Route 11, everybody's going to love the chips so much they would take one of each bag. But little did I know that people have their favorite flavor. And for all potato chip companies, everybody is mostly reaching for salted, regular, classic, whatever it is. And so our lightly salted, we have a delicious lightly salted.
It is amazing.
Yeah, and that sells more. That's 60% of our sales. So what was happening to us was that the lightly salted would sell through, so there'd be a hole on the shelf, and then our Chesapeake crab, which if you like Old Bay seasoning, is great, and we did that as a regional flavor, but that's our slowest mover. So suddenly your sales are being interfered with because you have too many flavors. So when we moved down to Mount Jackson, we had more flavors than we do now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because that was my creative. I was like, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that. But when we moved down here, we had to get really serious. And we're like, okay, we've got to make sure the product is moving, that we don't hamper the velocity on the shelves by putting flavors that aren't moving. So we are doing a lot more we're very focused on just staying as simple as possible. And the truth is, everybody always wants to know what's your next flavor. And we don't want to bore people, but we have to let go of one flavor in order to introduce
to bring in a new.
Yeah, because we don't really have the room to add another flavor right now.
And flavors are tricky, like you said earlier, because you've got to make sure that whatever that flavor is, it is going to appeal to the masses.
Exactly.
It can't just be something that 100 people are going to like, but the 1,000 other people that don't aren't going to buy it. You've really got to mess around with that. When you're doing regular manufacturing, you can add another product to your manufacturing product line because you can tell if the need is there. Flavors and food is a completely different ballgame.
Right, and we're considered a regional company, but we ship all over the country. I mean, we're not in grocery beyond this region, but we're in delis and specialty stores. So not only do we have to ensure that the taste buds in this region are satisfied with what we're doing, but it's also got to translate beyond here. So our goal has been just to do something that's really good. I mean, we've stood in the seasoning company, the labs, just dialing it. And you sit there and you eat like pounds and pounds of chips, trying to dial in flavors so you get to that point where it's, okay, this is good. We'll just leave it alone.
You also have the luxury of being able to mix it up in the size of bags. You were talking about Costco having a variety box.
Right.
I can get a small bag. I can get a big bag. I joke with you, I call them the trash bag full.
Right.
You can change things up sometimes that way.
Right. Those little 1 ounce bags that are in the Costco variety box
are perfect.
Yeah, it's a perfect serving size. Yeah.
People like that because of that.
It is perfect.
It meets their requirements, especially when they have dietary reasons
and
like
you
that.
and it's very satisfying, and it's just enough chips to hit the spot.
Yeah, and it gives you the flavor and you say, okay, eat healthy, because pretty much your ingredients
are healthy.
We're trying to make something.
That's also my reasoning behind eating a trash bag full of them. It's like, oh, but they're healthy.
We're using a high oleic expeller pressed sunflower oil.
I want to ask you about that for a second, because I seem to recall when the war in Ukraine started, you were getting your sunflower oil from there. Well, it was a pivot moment, right?
Yeah, the oil comes from Argentina and Ukraine, but when they stopped shipping seeds from Ukraine that winter, who would have thought that Ukraine, 90% of sunflower oil or seeds came from there? The whole vegetable oil market, not just sunflower, but the whole thing just seized up, and you could not get any oil. And I was at that moment, we've gotten through the pandemic and not had to deal with any supply chain issues, but that was our big moment. And I was like, oh, this is how we're going to go out of business, because if we can't get any oil, we're not going to be cooking. This is one of those moments where your survival depends on what you can make happen or what you can do. So our oil supplier was able to find some peanut oil, which was more expensive and also has a taboo of being peanut oil. But it was something, and something was better than nothing. But we had to label every single bag.
Different labels on the bags, I remember.
And I honestly thought, oh my God, this is going to be an OSHA hazard, because we can't, it was dizzying trying to put the labels on the bag. Unfortunately, we only had to do that for a couple months. And everybody understood. I mean, it affected everybody.
Right. It goes back to that loyalty you were talking about.
Yeah.
Those of us that love your product and love how you've done this business are willing to come along with you on that journey because we know that it wasn't your fault and we want to stick by you and see you succeed.
Yeah, and I think if you communicate well with your customers, that also helps, that they know what's happening and understand it.
Yeah, because people wouldn't even think that you had to go all the way to understand your crane is supplying my sunflower.
Oh yeah. I talked about it quite a few times on different shows when we would talk about world affairs or whatever, and people would say, yeah, but how does that affect me here in the Shenandoah Valley? I'd say, let me just tell you how it affects you, and you probably don't even know. Do you know where the sunflower seeds came from? They go into the oil that make your red lemon potato chips? Let me tell you. Have you seen the label on the bag? This is why you have to be aware of what's going on everywhere in the world, because it does filter down to us here locally.
Do you have alternate suppliers for things?
What I was going to say is the silver lining of all this is that when we were desperately searching for sunflower oil during this moment, I found a guy in North Carolina, a sunflower grower that was getting ready to start pressing his own oil. So in about a month, we're going to get our first tractor trailer load of oil from him. So this will be the first time we're actually purchasing directly from
a
farmer that's only 5 hours away. So that's really cool.
That goes back to your whole original vision of this being regional, being local, and being sustainable.
Right, which has taken us a while. I mean, when these things happen in the world, there's this kind of innovation that starts to happen locally. And so, I would not have been able to find somebody growing sunflowers 20 or 30 years ago, but now we are, and we're very excited about it because we work with local potato growers and local sweet potato growers, and both Clifford, our potato grower, is in Dayton, Virginia.
Oh, wow.
And then Bill, who does our certified organic sweet potatoes, is in Machapondo, Virginia. Those have been important relationships for us for a long time, so it'll be neat to add the sunflower guy to that equation. So this will be a first.
That is so cool.
But I don't think I would have necessarily found him had we not been turning over every single rock.
Farmers are always looking for another market and a lucrative market, which that one's a lucrative market compared to probably the crops he was growing. But the companies don't communicate that to the farmers, especially on the regional type. And if farmers know that, other farmers will actually make the investment and become a cluster for you in the supply chain if they are aware of it. So then you have that so-called safety net of growers. Have you actually done a reach out to Virginia Tech or Virginia State University? Because they are in communication with farmers all the time. Because there's farmers that are looking to transition to crops that generate, and there's a lot of new young farmers going in, and a number of them are actually going into the floral market. So this may be a segue.
Right, and that's, and I'm hoping that if once we have this experience with this, we're going to learn something. That this farmer, this is his first foray, but we're a small company. But for him,
it's the right size.
It's the right size.
It's a good entry to the market for him.
Exactly. He can actually do something versus just selling sunflower oil in little bottles. He has the ability to do a volume that makes a difference.
And that's really cool because that's where you are. It's almost coming full circle now with you being able to do that for other businesses.
Right. And Carl, what I was going to say is that, I think once we have this new experience under our belt, it will be something that I would be more comfortable replicating. The thing with this particular gentleman is he's been doing the sunflowers for a while, he's been doing the oil for a while, so he's already got his stuff set up. So we'll see how it works, and this will be the first time we've ever purchased directly from a farmer like that.
I think it's amazing.
You're going to be his Costco.
I think it gives them the opportunity to do something at scale, which when you're farming, there is that point where I know with Clifford, who's our potato grower, he brings us 40,000 pounds of potatoes, and then we're like, okay, Clifford, we're ready for the next 40,000. So he can plant 30 acres for us, and it helps him sustain also. It works for everybody.
So do you try different types of sunflowers?
Carl, you'll have to come back next year and we can talk about this.
When she's got the sunflower MBA and sunflower oil.
I've dealt with them, and that's my curiosity. Sorry, running loose again.
He's expeller pressing them, which means he's mechanically getting the oil out of the seed, And I think the reason why a lot of seed oils are getting a bad rap now, reasonably so, is because most seed oils, the extraction methods are with these awful chemicals.
Right.
That are just have been shown to be very bad.
Yeah, well, people are looking for the quickest and fastest.
Right.
Yeah.
And they say, I can expedite it, and this is what I get in return.
Yeah.
And the consumer thinks, oh, great. And then once the consumer, especially with the Gen Zs now, they're more conscious of it.
Yeah.
And so they step back and they say, wait a second, I'd rather go and pay a little bit more for a product that's basically giving me what I really need, and I feel comfortable. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Now, I got a curious question though. During all this time, you've done all these amazing things, product-wise and all that. You have taken advantage of research and development tax credits.
Oh, here we go.
No.
This comes up at every single conversation.
So it is so
Please
funny
say
that you
yes.
asked that. Okay. So we did 1 year. We'll have to talk offline. Our accountant that we were using,
Yes.
we ended up paying this kind of ridiculous amount of money that I don't think the tax credit was enough to
To
do you know what I mean?
offset what
To
it costs
offset
to
the cost.
take the credit to begin
Yes,
with.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the problem.
Yeah. And the reason I say that is because those accountants that really understand it, it's a seamless thing.
Yeah.
Those that are asked, because they will not offer, and when they're asked, they have to learn it.
Yeah.
And then
It
you're
becomes
unfortunate
expensive
because
on the
you asked.
user end.
You carry the
Yeah.
cost of it.
Of that
but now
education.
they have it as part of their marketing
Yes.
for the future.
Yes.
Hey, look what I can do for you.
You can thank Red 11 Potato Chips
That's
for
right.
paying me to learn how to do this for you at a much less cost.
Yeah, our timing with that wasn't great.
Yeah.
With that said, we've been able to take advantage of grants and the things that the state of Virginia does that have been really helpful. And Virginia it's a great state to do business in, the way it's set up, and the state also advocates for business. So we try to take advantage of what seems relevant to us in the moment. But I'll have to revisit because I was so traumatized by the accountant bill that we got for this.
Yeah,
And I was like, was this worth it?
This is crazy.
and you're absolutely right. And the reason I bring it up is
He always brings it up with every single person we talk about. I bring it up now with random businesses I'm talking to on the air because he has taught me all about it.
the first time I came in here, I saw the different flavors, and then even when you do your trial, I'm sitting here saying, this is all R&D tech. And so for me, it's multiplying in my head. And so I'm sitting here saying, I wonder if they do or don't. And then I know you do things to make process improvement, just like you're doing with
The sunflower.
You had to go through your taste test with it, small experimental runs, all that. I'm sitting here, and I'm just multiplying.
Okay, we'll talk about it, because maybe this has got enough for us to
Really be able
enough
to
here,
see a
yeah.
return on doing that.
Yeah, because we were in such shock after this Ukrainian situation. It's just weird that something that happened over there so immediate, within a month.
Had an impact here.
Right. It was the first time we ever felt a shock from around the world.
Yeah.
Again, that was a learning experience. So now...
Now you're looking at all the other things. Okay, what
Right.
happens if this goes out? Or what happens if there's a supply
Exactly.
chain issue for the people that make our bags
Right.
or whatever?
Yeah, we're really trying to be more aware of that and more aware of the global economy that has happened. When we started, we buy all of our materials in the U.S. Some of those materials have
Come from
components-
pieces that are not.
And so you've got to really be able to protect yourself, because what can you do? There were so many people during the pandemic that couldn't get jar lids for their jam.
Right.
So what do you do? If we couldn't get packaging, what do we do? Those are all good questions. We're in a much different economy now and supply chain world than we were when I started the business. So it's
And COVID really brought that highlight. And because so many companies went out, we ended up having
Even less
and
access.
it's made it more difficult. And then it's trying to figure out how do you, right now with the current administration, about bringing manufacturing back into the United States. It's fine to bring manufacturing, but what kind of things should we be bringing back into? You're able to food process, and for your size, create a good supply process. And you still have the bonus if you were really hungry, you could run 2 more shifts.
Right,
And
right.
so you have this really excess capability if you want it. But for that trade-off, you don't have the spare part component set up for wear and tear that you would have to in the extra time for PM work and things like that would come into play. that you have now with your current setup. And
Right.
Yeah, you can't be short-sighted when you think, okay, I'm just going to add another shift because all I need are the people, and not think about, wait a minute, I'm running now my machinery twice as long as I have been before, so things are going to break down twice as fast, and all of those things. You've got to really look at the big picture.
And that's why I always ask, how far do you want to go? For your growth, there's a point where you're very profitable.
Yeah.
And then there's a point when you go over that very profitable point, and then you just gradually grow. Yeah, you're doing a lot more, but you really aren't putting the big profit in when you were basically back at this size. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, and so they keep scaling. And right now it's profitable. There is a point. It's a break-even point, guys. Just like when they say break-even. Did you break even with everything?
Yeah.
Same thing with manufacturing. There's a point where you're very profitable, and then you cross a hump, and then the profit's not as big.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have reached the sweet spot where we're not going to take over the world, but this is like a good size. This is a good business size, and this is going to sound terrible, but you're right. We could add another shift if we wanted to, and you're right, Janet. But then there's the cost of equipment, maintenance. So there's always going to be the hidden costs. We cook during the day. Nobody wants to work on a Saturday anymore, except for me. Yeah. We have a nice 4 10-hour day work week. Nothing at nighttime. We've just found this nice place of doing it, and neither Mike or I want to be woken up at 2 in the morning because a piece of equipment broke down. You know what I mean? So that's the beauty of having your own business, is you can make decisions like that. We know what we can manage. We know how much we can manage.
Yeah, I've been in around the clock operation.
And you can grow in other ways that don't mean adding another shift.
Yes.
I'm looking around, and this was one of the last things I wanted to make sure we talked about before we wrapped up. I'm looking around at the retail. We've talked a lot about wholesale, selling to Costco and things like that, but you've got this whole tourist industry that has followed you since you put that window in Middletown originally. There have been people coming in and out. They're going upstairs and they're watching how the process goes. You've got T-shirts and there are tins. You ship all over the country. There is a lot of other pieces to this business that aren't necessarily making potato chips.
Exactly. And the retail is very important to us. We have people come in here. They come in, buy the chips. This is where we do our marketing. But one thing that I forgot to say, and this speaks to what we were talking about, is how do you eke out more product without putting in a second shift? So we have been basically trying to optimize our systems. We put in a bigger water line this year so that we could clean up faster. There's more water pressure. We built another warehouse, so we've got room to keep moving things so we're not so cramped. We're putting in oil tanks so that we can start receiving oil from this farmer. And so we're trying to be as efficient as we possibly can. And that is going to help us eke out more pallets of product. So that is like our final cherry on top of this. Potato chip cake.
I was curious about something. When you made the jump from Middletown to here, that was a big investment.
That was huge. Because your square footage in Middletown,
we were 7,200 square feet.
And here
we're like 28,000.
Which is just insane.
Yeah.
And for that major jump, did you have investors?
No. So we had my mother who guaranteed a loan for us to do this. And it was a big investment. And then to have the economy crashing, because and we lost some big customers, and suddenly we had this vision of cooking down here a few days a week. We could only cook one day. All of a sudden, we were producing so much more, but it was only like 1 day a week of production
to do what took you 3 days to do in Middletown, and now you're like, wait, what do we do with these other days?
And then having a staff that needed hours. And so that was a very tricky, this is what gave us the potential, was to be able to set something up. In Middletown, we were set up because we were squeezed in.
You were landlocked. You really were landlocked.
Yeah, we were landlocked. Here we had 10 acres. We could build something that we could work effectively. But it was a sizable investment. And actually at the time, there was really very little that was available to us as an existing company in Virginia. Like the state did not have.
They were pushing new businesses and startups and not
come from out of state. So I complained as we were working on this. But the timing turned out to be good for us. Even though it was scary economically, for some reason it worked out and we managed to pay off our debt, and we've been doing this for a while.
So what advice would you give to someone if they're listening right now and they've got a business and they're where you were in Middletown the year before you left? What would you say? Would you say go for it? Would you say do your homework? What kinds of advice would you give to someone?
What comes to me immediately, I know this is why I tell people don't ask me for advice, because I'm like, don't do it, whatever you do. But I think if you're willing, the thing with a small business is it's all consuming.
It's like having children.
Yeah.
It is really like having children. It takes up 24/7.
Yeah, and it's nonstop, and everything that can go wrong does. And you've got to have time and money. Yeah, you have to have deep pockets to do. You've got to have some support. I never wanted investors because I felt like I'm going to be enslaved to this myself. I don't want somebody breathing down my neck telling me they need their return on their investment.
Or insisting on using the peanut oil or all of these other things that aren't the product you want it to be.
They would tell you to take a shortcut to make more money.
Right.
Increase the profit line.
But I think for something like this, I think you've just got to, I think you have to be realistic to a degree. You also, it helped me to be delusional, because if I had been realistic, I never would have done it.
Yes, that's
Do you know what I
true.
mean? You just have to have a vision and do your number crunching. It was very helpful when I started the business. There was a SBDC.
At Laurel Ridge Community College.
Yes, yeah.
That would have been Bill's Serball?
Yeah.
Yes.
So Bill helped me with I walk across the street. He helped me with my business
Oh, that's right,
plan.
because their office was there in that strip center.
Yes,
They weren't in the college yet. That's
so
true.
I just had to go across the street, and he helped with the business plan.
That's great.
And that was essential too. You really got to make sure the numbers make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And where is your break-even point? Can you get to your break-even point? And I didn't know that was a thing. But really, you got to get up to a certain point in every business. There's a line. And until you know that you can get there, you have to understand how are you going to support yourself. So even when we started in Middletown, I was working part-time at a pizzeria. The guy that I started it with was working as a line cook at the Wayside Inn. So we were just doing what we could because there was no money yet. It took us really close to 7 years to really break even.
Wow.
And so in that time period, you were personally not making any money. You're just putting everything is just.
So you have to work a job to support yourself
initially, the first
and
couple
put
years,
all the time and the energy into growing this business.
Yeah.
It is a lot. It's not for the
too
faint
much.
of heart.
And you have to be in your 20s. When you're energetic, do not do this for
If you're,
50.
I hear that.
Yeah.
I 100% hear that.
And you hit on a key point. What is your driving force?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people, as you talked about earlier, delusional. They go in, they think this is how everything's going to fall, and then when it doesn't, those that have that drive will make it happen.
Figure it out.
Right, and you cannot be, because I've had people who they'll call me and they're like, can you mentor me? I'm coming up with a dog food idea, but really want to just do it from St. Bart. I want to be on the beach, and I was like, no, sorry. If you're already envisioning yourself running your company from the beach, you probably should not.
Should not even start.
A lot of people do have the philosophy that they're going to be someplace else, and they're just going to hire people to do the work.
Right. And there are careers and businesses that you can start that allow you to do that. Manufacturing typically is not one of them.
No, you have to be on site because
Yeah.
there's just so many. Yeah, again, there's so much. It's like being a conductor, or engineer.
Customer calls you about a problem. They're not going to be happy knowing that you're sitting.
Yeah, they're not going to want to hear the
Right.
ocean in the background as they're complaining to you. I wouldn't want to hear the ocean in the background.
Right.
So what's next for you?
That is a good question. We're just going to keep trying to maintain and grow. There's always something new on the horizon happening. And I want to during the pandemic and stuff, we were just in this I stopped doing trade shows, but I'm feeling ready to get back into the selling now that we have the ability to eke out. And you can't rest on your laurels either because people are going out of business all the time. And there's some challenges now with our local market because of like the federal government layoffs.
Right.
DC is a big market for us, and a lot of restaurants are closing down there because they don't have the lunch business, and we're part of that. We've been a factor in that lunch business. So yeah, we've got to do a little bit of.
Like that one, Have you looked at potentially, and I don't know if you do it, sell to the federal government directly?
The chips they make it into the cafeterias, like at federal office buildings, but it's through not anything I haven't personally done anything, but it's through our food service distributors like Cisco and...
Oh, because I was looking at some of the commissaries.
We work with Naval Exchange, which is out of Norfolk. And we do have some of that business, and I don't have a sales. That's the other thing, is we're so small that I don't have a salesperson that I can say, hey, just go out there and do whatever. Because
here's a list of places Carl said we should be looking at. I need you to start working on them in February.
Yeah, because we couldn't. It would just be too much. You got to meter the sales. So that's the other weird part about this business.
That's also valuable advice, because a lot of people would then do that and then not think about all the things that have to happen if you go to 6 people and 4 of them say yes. How does that filter back into actually giving them the product? So
and the most important thing about selling to somebody is that you're reliable.
Right.
Reliability. And that's something that I would have to give ourselves 100%, because we are so determined to make sure that people get their product on time. Potato chips move very quickly. If you can't get people their chips, they're going to start looking for another option. So you have to be committed and be a reliable supplier in this business, or what's the point?
Unfortunately, because it's shortage of manufacturers, it's become a real convenient, I'm sorry, it's going to be late. And everybody says it's because we have shortage. No, it's not. It's about that company's commitment.
Right.
Thing.
Yeah, they're taking advantage of other
whatever.
people being short-staffed to use that as an excuse on their end when that's not really the case.
That's
Right, and that has happened too with us. We're lucky that we've gotten to the size where we're not nothing. Do you know what I mean? I think people want our business. The suppliers want our business. So that helps also in the equation. Because if it was 20 years ago and we're just really small potatoes.
I need 5 gallons versus 500 gallons of
and
something.
people just push you don't have the same leverage or priority that you would hope to have, but it's the nature of the beast.
But you're absolutely correct about that.
Yeah.
And when you're down at the, as we say, the bottom of the food chain.
It's not pretty.
You want what?
When? For how much?
And that's why I always say, especially in this type of business, you're good, because when you grow here, you get all the price marks, start getting the price marks. So you come out of the gate losing big time, but you get to that point where growth-wise,
It offsets.
it starts rippling in and you start recovering. But you're so spot on though when it comes into the food arena. The people that are suppliers of the ingredients, if you're not at this number asked,
You're too low on the totem pole for them to care.
And I think that's the case more than ever now. Just the way the economics are today versus 30 years ago when we started. We could beg.
There was something to be said for pity. People would take pity on you and say, okay, look, you seem like a nice enough lady. Let me see what I can do for you.
But the model's also changed because, as you talked about earlier, when you started, investors weren't a big player. But you look now how many investment firms are purchasing in arenas that, why is an investment firm? So the investment firms now making the decision of food, their bottom line is about, how do I take care of my shareholders?
Right.
And so
that's very true.
That creates a conflict, and we have more of those today, and that's changing the dynamics of how business
You're
is being
absolutely right. I think that it's totally changed it. It makes it harder to get in. It makes it harder to start at the bottom because of that. Totally.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking the time. I told you we sat down, it'd be 20 or 30 minutes, and we're coming up on over an hour. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And I also appreciate that now you've gotten Carl off my back about coming to Red 11 Chips.
Carl, thank you.
Thank you for opening your place to us. I really appreciate it.
Well, that's it for us today. Let me know what your favorite Red 11 chip flavor is on the Valley Today Facebook page or on Instagram. I will be back tomorrow with a brand new Valley Today, talking with Dr. Kevin Volkema about his new family medicine practice and the value of having a primary care physician. Don't miss it.